conference. Listen, my name is Ken Jocelyn, and I am super excited to be with my good friend, Dr. Emmanuel Ziga. I'm also Austin Zellen there in Spokane, Washington. I want to share with you guys a talk this morning. I get the opportunity to host one of the top 2% podcasts in the country called As the Leader Grows that I host. I also get the opportunity, which we will be doing next week in Atlanta, to be able to host the #1 faith-based entrepreneur conference in the country. And man, we've had speakers at our conference like my good friend, Dr. John Maxwell, Ed Milet, Brendan Burchard. This year, we've got my good friend, Erwin McManus, who's going to come in and keynote guys like Vic Keller, Gary Brecka, the #1 biohacker in the world. He also hosts the #1 health and wellness podcast in the world as well. But I'm excited to be with you guys today. And Dr. Ziga, super honored for the invite to be able to be with you guys today. I'm in my studio here in Birmingham, Alabama, but just a quick backdrop on me. I've spent half of the last 25 years in full-time vocational ministry, pastoring and planting churches in the Atlanta area. As a matter of fact, about 25 years ago, as a youth pastor, I helped plant a church in 1997 and started a youth ministry with about a half a dozen kids. And then over the next 2 or 3 years, with some help of some of the most amazing mentors the world would have to offer, I was able to grow that youth ministry into one of the largest youth ministries in the country in 1999 and in 2000. We were really on the cutting edge of doing some things in student ministry that had never been done before, including building out a 7,200 square foot youth facility. I had a 2,500 square foot 50s diner. Like literally, it looked like you walked back into Happy Days with neon. And I'm going to date myself, PlayStation 2s on the wall and patio area, basketball courts, everything for students. And we grew that thing and really impacted our city. And even today, I talked to several of the students that were in my youth ministry then who literally are still thriving in their relationship with Jesus. About a half a dozen couples came out of my youth ministry who are married and have kids today, which makes me feel a little old. But I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Today, I want to talk about one of the things that I'm really super passionate about, and it's what we call at GSD our core 5. Everything that we do, from our online community to our in-person mastermind, we meet around the country 3 or 4 times a year in places like Sundance, places like Puerto Rico. And then we also meet there, like I said, next week, my conference, my Create conference in Atlanta. We're going to spend 2.5, 3 days working through these same things we're going to talk about today, which is our core 5, which is faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. Faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. And you say, Ken, why is this important that we have kind of this core 5 area? And I'll say this to you guys today, as business leaders, as kingdom business leaders, you guys have gathered there with my good friend, Dr. Ziga and Austin Zellen and 100 or 200 business leaders there in Spokane, Washington. I've been fortunate to be around, I'm 55 years old now, I've been fortunate to be around some of the top business leaders in the world. And that's what we're going to talk about today, are those types of relationships. But what I've seen is the people that really focus on becoming the best version of themselves, not just in their business, not just in their finances, but literally in each of these core 5 areas. Faith, and I want you to write these down: faith, health, relationships, then business and finances. Because I truly believe if you can get your faith, your health, and your relationships in alignment, the business and the finance component of this core 5 are almost organic. They literally happen with more of an ease. Again, building businesses, not easy. Building great finances and wealth and understanding what to do with that is definitely not easy as well. But if you will focus on not just business and not just finances, but really lock in on how can I, as a Christ follower and a Jesus follower, how can I become the best version of myself? I really believe it happens in all 5 of these core 5 areas. And I really believe it starts with faith. Now, obviously, you guys are faith-based entrepreneurs. That's why you're here today at this Grace Business Conference, talking about how do we not only increase our wealth and grow our businesses, but how do we fund and impact the kingdom? And all that starts with faith. So my question today is for you is, what are you hoping for? We know what Hebrews says about faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for? What are you hoping for? I'll never forget when I walked into an Acquire the Fire event, and I'm dating myself for some of you guys that may know Acquire the Fire, which was a kind of a parachurch organization that went all around the country. They had large events in all the cities around the country. The founder and CEO for Teen Mania Ministries, Ron Luce, became a super good friend of mine and a mentor. And I would actually go and speak and share my story and the things that I learned about leadership with Ron at the different Acquire the Fires around the country. And I'll never forget, I walked into one of these events in Atlanta. I had about 15, 16, 17 kids with me at the time. Youth ministry was brand new. I had no idea what I was doing. And I walk into a leadership session with Ron, and he shares about mission statements, core values, and BHAGs. And it literally was the most transformative, probably if I had to look back over the past 25 years, the most transformative 60 to 90 minutes I had ever had outside of my conversion experience on August 22nd, 1993, when I gave my life to Christ. I walked in and I learned about mission statement. I learned about core values. I learned about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Where are you going? As a matter of fact, I can look back now. This is 24 years later. And I literally can picture myself in that conference center there in Atlanta with about 500 to 600 other youth pastors and youth leaders and senior pastors. And I'll never forget, I had this big at-a-glance calendar, if you guys remember those. They were the big ones with the plastic cover, and they had each of the days had these big block dates on it. And I'll never forget, I went in the back and I wrote, 1999, 2000, 2001. I'd written all this vision down. But I'll never forget when he talked about mission statement. Today, I can quote you that mission statement right now as good as I could when I wrote it down. It took me a minute to write it. Worship, change, teach the authority and truths of God's word with a resulting vision that creates an army of young people to make a worldwide difference for the kingdom of God. That's how quick it came to me. When God drops vision and God drops things in your heart, I'm telling you, it comes with ease. And literally, you go right back to Habakkuk 2. Write the vision down and make it plain. What are you hoping for today? So for me, I'm going to share with you just some of my past experiences in this core 5 areas, starting with faith, and then we'll move on to health. Health was a huge deal for me. About 3.5, 4 years ago, I was a college baseball umpire, and I wanted to work Division I baseball. It was kind of a dream of mine. I love the game. I love being able to give back. And I'm at college baseball camp, and I go to camp, Division I, ACC, SEC, and I work the camp really good. I'm with a really good friend of mine who'd worked several hundred big league games. He was already on the Division I SEC roster and the ACC roster. And I'm there at camp. I'm meeting a lot of guys that he worked pro ball with. And I get through at the camp, and a guy named Ray Gregson, I believe he's worked a couple College World Series, pulls me aside, and he goes, "Ken, you have great rapport. Like, you look really good on the field, great rapport with the coaches, great rapport with the players. You know the rules, but dude, you've got to lose weight. You've got to get in better shape in order to be a Division I baseball umpire." And I'll never forget, I came home that day. And this has been about 3.5 to 4 years ago. I came home that day and I stepped on the scale, and it was over 300 pounds. And I was literally disgusted with myself. And here's what happened. I literally wrote down in my planner, I'm going to lose 66 pounds. I took a before picture of myself. And the first thing I did was put that on my social media and say, "Guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose 66 pounds. And I want to show you guys really quick a before and after picture of what I looked like. This is my before and after picture. For those of you guys that can see this, it's a huge transformation. It's over 85 pounds. Over 85 pounds that I dropped. So when we talk about our core 5, we talk about faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. I want to ask you this question. Inside of this core 5, and I don't have a media team today. I'm in the studio by myself. So you may see me looking down at my laptop from time to time. Inside this core 5, faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. I guarantee you, if you look back in your life, and every time you went from one level to the next level in any of these core 5 areas, it was always due to a relationship. Every single time we grow because of a relationship. And here's what I want to share with you guys today. And it's this, that proximity is a cheat code. I've got a quote that's in the bottom of my planner that I created, and it's a quote every single day. And it says, get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. You're here at this conference in Spokane, Washington today for a reason. Your heart and your desire is to become the best version of yourself, especially when it comes to your business and finances, which I love and I think is amazing, because we need finances to make a kingdom, to make an impact for the kingdom around the world. But the reality of what you need this week at this conference, or even at my Create conference next week in Atlanta, I say this is the very first thing they'll hear me say every single time, is this. You're going to hear from some amazing speakers, guys like Dr. John Maxwell, Ed Mylett, Brendon Burchard, Vic Keller, who sold 11 companies to Berkshire Hathaway and Mr. Warren Buffett for an undisclosed amount that was in the B's. I'll put it to you that way. And then served as a CEO for Berkshire Hathaway Automotives, took it from an $8 billion a year company to an $11 billion a year company. You're going to hear from guys like Gary Brecka, the #1 biohacker in the world, who has worked with every celebrity you can think of and has the #1 podcast on health and wellness in the world right now. You're going to hear from some amazing people, but the power is going to be the people that you're sitting next to. And so you're in the room. Here's what I want you to look around the room. You look around the room right now. There are people in the room today that you need to know. You've invested time and resources to be here in Spokane, Washington with us today. But I'm going to tell you the number, you're going to hear great information from the platform. You're going to hear great information from some of the pastors and some of the speakers that are coming up to teach you on business and business principles and all the stuff. But the reality of it is the power and the thing that you're looking for is going to come from the relationship from the person that's sitting to your left or sitting to your right. Proximity is a cheat code. And I just want to walk you through for the next couple of minutes my story. Got about 8 minutes left. I want to walk you through my story in some of these areas. And I literally just shared this picture with you guys right here. Again, you want to talk about transformation? This is transformation. And I was on the phone with a good friend of mine, Anthony Trucks, who speaks for Tony Robbins and Brendon Burchard. He's played in the NFL. He's a All-American linebacker at University of Oregon, played in the NFL for several years. And then now he is a public speaker, and he's one of the best communicators on the planet. And I'll never forget, Anthony and I were talking in the past year, and he goes, Ken, I guarantee you, if you'll look at your health journey and how you grew on your health journey, or actually ungrew, got smaller on your health journey, I guarantee you it probably mirrors the growth in your business. As you saw, as I started GSD 3.5 years ago, now we're a 7-figure company. We did over 1.2 or right at $1.2 million in revenue last year, just in this company, not to mention my real estate company that I have as well. He said, I bet if you tracked your weight loss and your health journey, I guarantee you it almost mirror the growth in your business. And when I did, he was 100% correct. So I want to talk about proximity as a cheat code. Ken, how did you lose some of this weight? Well, I want to share some pictures of some really close friends. I have a group text that I text every single morning. Already text this morning with 5 guys on it. Those 5 guys are this guy right here, Gary Brecka. If you guys don't know Gary Brecka, you need his Superhuman podcast, I think is the name of his podcast, Gary Brecka, Brecka. You need to follow Gary. He is on the forefront when it comes to functional medicine and biohacking. Works with every celebrity literally under the sun. He works with the NFL. He works with Major League Baseball. He has one of the most unbelievable minds I've ever heard. But in this journey for me personally, I met Gary over 3 years ago, and I was like about 20 pounds into this 30 pounds into this weight loss journey, and I had hit a ceiling. I was stuck. I couldn't get any further. Gary pulls me aside. I'm actually at his condo at the Porsche Design Tower in Miami, getting an IV. And Gary goes, Ken, he said, what you need to do, you need to do keto. Because I told him I was stuck. So that was in June. So from June until January of the next year, which is about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I did keto and I dropped 40 more pounds, which got me to about that 60 to 70 pound mark. As a matter of fact, in my planner, I changed my goal. I write my goals down twice a day. Goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3 every single day. I'm going to talk about that in the talk that I do tomorrow. But my goal changed from lose 66 pounds to lose 86 pounds. And then when I got to the 80-pound mark, I changed it to my final goal, which was 106 pounds. But Gary Brecka is one of those guys on that text thread every single morning with me, along with guys like Randy Garn. Randy, some of you guys may know who Randy Garn is. Randy Garn is a former Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He's a New York Times best-selling author, and he sits on the board of Tamarack Capital, which is a PE firm in Salt Lake City. But he's also on the board with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and he is partners with Brendon Burchard in the High Performance Institute. He is an absolute savage when it comes to business, and he loves Jesus with everything he has. And he is the most connected man that I know on the planet. So got him, and I'm going to share. I've got a couple of the pictures here. This is my good friend, Vic Keller, at my conference this past year with Vic and with John Maxwell. Vic is the one that I was sharing with you guys earlier. He had several companies successfully acquired by Warren Buffett and then served as Mr. B's CEO for Berkshire Hathaway Automotives for several years, took it from an $8 billion a year company to a $11 billion a year company. And this is a picture of Warren and Mr. Buffett there. All of these guys, these three, will all be at my conference, along with my good friend Brent Gove, who is the #1 agent with EXP. He has over 29,000 agents in his organization with EXP. Again, the #1 guy there. But I want to talk to you really, really quick more about the two of the other guys. I got Brent Gove and I got Brian Covey. I don't have pictures of Brent and Brian, so bear with me on this. Brian Covey is a senior vice president for Revolution Mortgage. Took that company, helped that company go from $2 billion in loans and mortgages to over $5 billion. So as you can see, this text thread that I have every single day, 5 complete crazy people when it comes to performing and business leaders, and all 5 guys love Jesus with everything that they have. But they are high-performing entrepreneurs. They are very, very close friends of mine. So proximity is a cheat code. I don't know how many of you guys ever remember Nintendo back in the day, like way back in the day. In Nintendo, way back in the day, there was a game called Contra. Now, this was before the internet. This was before cell phones. I just gotten out of the Air Force. So we're probably looking at, I'm going to date myself right here, guys, 1990, 91, 92-ish. So we would go to Blockbuster and we'd rent the video because I didn't have enough money to buy video games. So I'd go to Blockbuster, rent the video game. We'd play Contra. And me and my buddy Mickey would play Contra all night long, Friday night and Saturday night. We'd try to beat the game because you just wanted to win the game, to see what scene unlocked at the very end of it. One day I go to Blockbuster. And again, before the internet, before phones, before any of that stuff. I go to Blockbuster and the guy at Blockbuster goes, "Ken, did you hear that there is a cheat code for Contra?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" He goes, "Listen, I never forget." He wrote it down on a piece of paper for me. Left, right, on your little joystick thing for Nintendo. Left, right, up, down, BA, start. And when you did that, I'll never forget plugging that game back in Nintendo. I get to Mickey's house and we're getting ready to have this like all night session on Nintendo. And I did the cheat code. And what happened? I had unlimited lives. It was impossible for me not to beat the game. Guys, when I say proximity is a cheat code, the relationships you have in your life will determine whether or not you're going to win the game. They will determine whether or not your business goes from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures, or from 7 figures even to 8 figures. And if you're a business in that $1 to $5 million range, about that $2 million range is where the vast majority of businesses stay, and and a lot of businesses die, or they decline, or they die. So proximity is a cheat code. I walk through all my guys here. Gary Brecka, huge influence on me when it comes to my health. I'm going to put my pictures back up here with me and my good friend Randy Garn. Randy Garn, again, this is at my conference at Create 3 years ago, my very first conference that I ever had. I had my good friend Jen Gottlieb, who's one of the top female communicators on the planet and entrepreneur. She lives in New York City with her husband, Chris. She was speaking on my stage. Randy leaned over to take this picture, and this is what he said. He goes, "Ken, now I know why God connected us. I'm here to help you get your message to the world." Now, here's a man who is super close friends with Tony Robbins, and he's been on Tony's board now for years, and he's watched Tony have the impact that he's had around the world. And when a man like that leans over and you're in your first conference ever, and it's your conference, and guys like heroes and friends like Dr. John Maxwell are taking the stage to open up before me. Guys like Jesse Itzler, guys like Brendan Burchard. And I've got a guy like Randy Garn who leans over and says, Ken, I know why God put me in your life. I'm here to help you get your message to the entire world. You want to talk about confirming. You want to talk about wind in my sails. It was an unbelievable time. So out of all of these relationships that I have, as we talk about proximity is a cheat code, out of all of these relationships that I have, I've got, like, even in my 5 guys, I have, when you break down our core 5, let me go over here and show you this core 5 one more time. Faith, healthy relationship, business, and finances. When it comes to faith, I've got 2 of my guys I reach out to all the time. That's going to be Brian Covey, and it's going to be my good friend Brent Gove. When it comes to faith or relationships, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be Brent, and it's going to be the relationship component is going to be Randy Garn. When it comes to my health, I've got Gary Brecka literally on speed dial. I will text him. I'll text him sometimes at 10:30, 11 at night. I'm Central. He's East Coast. He will text me back at 1 a.m. in answer to a question that I have about my supplementation or my working out. Gary, I'm stuck at a plateau, or my hamstring sore because I did 3 Orange Theory classes this week, or I was on my Peloton. And Gary's always firing back things. So if I need something, when it comes from me going to one level in my health, in my faith, health, relationship, business, or finances, to the next level, inside of that group of 5 men that I have on that text thread, I've always got somebody that I can reach out to. So again, when it comes to my faith, I always talk to my good friend, Brent Gove. When it comes to my health, obviously I've got Gary Brecka there. My relationships, I go right back to Randy Garn, and I go right back to Brent Gove. Like, those are the guys. If I have something going on personally with me, those are the guys that I reach out to. Guys, listen, remember, proximity is a cheat code. The people that are in your life will determine. My good friend John Maxwell says it all the time. If you show me your friends, I will show you your future. Now, when it comes to business and finances, obviously with Brian and Vic, if I have a business question or a finance question, I will lean on those guys very heavily. Now, all 5 of these guys can fit really in any of these core 5 areas. But these are the 5 guys that I rely on. So, Ken, here's the question. This is the question I get from everybody all the time. How in the world do you get to spend time and get around some of the amazing human beings that you do? And this is it. And this is what I want you to write down. Got about 2 minutes, and I'm going to close this. And it's this promise. It's really this code that I live by. And it's great leaders want something for people, not from people. Great leaders want something for people, not from people. And if you look at the greatest leader we've ever known, his name is Jesus. And he came, and in his words, his own words, it's very clear. I did not come to be served. I came to serve. Do you remember in the story where Jesus came in to wash feet, and he looked at the disciples, and Peter's like, "Whoa, you're not washing my feet. You're no way. You're the Messiah. You're the Christ. You are God born in flesh." And Jesus said, "Unless I wash your feet, I have no part of you." Jesus said, I didn't come to serve. I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. Guys, this quote right here, if there is one motto you live by as a business owner and a business leader, it's great leaders want something for people, not from people. 20 plus years ago, I stepped off my first big stage ever, about 8,000, 9,000 people. This was actually an Acquire the Fire event. I was behind my good friend John Maxwell and in front of one of my mentors. And I step off that stage, and my mentor says to me, she goes, "Ken, do you want to go to lunch tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure, I'd love to." We go to lunch the next day, and she asked me this question. She goes, "I'm going to ask you the most important question of your life. Do you want to be significant, or do you want to be successful?" And for 20 years, I have literally started to live out and understand what that question meant. Significant leaders build others around them so they can win, understanding that if they do that, it comes right into my favorite Zig Ziglar quote: helping up people get what they want, and eventually you'll get what you want. Where people who chase success and they're just after the business and they're just after the finances, they'll use people around them to get what they want to satisfy their own selfish desires. And they always leave a trail of damage behind them. So here's what I want to encourage you all the way from Birmingham, Alabama to Spokane, Washington. I want to encourage you to be a leader who wants something for people and not from people. Dr. Ziga, it's been an honor to be with you guys this morning. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to talk about routine tomorrow. I'm going to talk about, again, a good quote from my good friend John Maxwell. If you show me your daily routine, I will tell you how successful you are. We're going to talk about goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3, and literally what my morning routine, you can call it regiment routine, whatever you want to call it, what my morning routine looks like and how important it is for you to be able to dominate your calendar. Hope you guys have a blessed day. See you.